happens, and we'll sit down, we'll watch it, and understand exactly where we can be better in those moments.
It's 63 degrees at 12 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our 3 sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
Hey, hey.
This is Helmets and Heels
On 1010XL, switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
My oh my, how things can change in a week. A week ago, I was camping with the manatees.
In freezing cold temperatures, mind you.
We were in a cabin. We were totally warm. But the manatees were in that 72-degree weather, which is much nicer. So, yeah, down in Blue Springs State Park, decided to take a couple days, go camping with my parents. And y'all were manning down the fort, meanwhile, the actual fort here. And things were in quite a tizzy.
Yeah.
Because Ben Johnson had just been taken or selected as the Chicago Bears head coach. We were told by so many different people in around Jacksonville that it was going to be Ben Johnson here. So that was a swing and a miss. And then immediately everyone blamed Trent Baalke for still being the general manager.
A week ago, Trent Baalke was still the general manager of the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's the real.
That's what I'm saying. Like a week ago, everyone was up in arms because Ben Johnson, everyone thought he was coming to Jacksonville. He goes to Chicago. Everyone blames Baalke. I thought, well, he picked Caleb Williams over Trevor Lawrence. That's what, in my mind, happened. But he also, yes, might have not wanted to work
And
with
yet
Trent.
we fast forward less than a week later to yesterday, and was I the first person in the press conference to actually dare say he who must not be named's name? I think I was the first person to actually say the T word. That's Trent Baalke. And that was about what?
Yeah, once you did, there was a
in?
couple after, but it was like yours that finally, and the
and
moment you did.
I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I'm trying to say I was
Why did it take that long?
The eighth question to say the Trent word.
I was thinking the same thing. Like the whole time I was like, you have to, it would have made more sense to me to get that first and get that out of the way and then move on to the Liam Cohen, but then no one said anything.
Well,
so it was
and I think they got the vibe that Shad was going to be a little prickly and close-mouthed about it. And certainly Liam was the same way. As far, not necessarily the Trent part. He said that didn't affect him. But Liam was also tight-lipped on the way that everything happened with the Bucs. So you could tell that there were a couple hot-button things that they did not want to be asked about. And if they were going to be asked about it, they were going to kind of skim over it. And
Shad's like, can you ask us some easy questions?
Exactly. If you're not learning, you're dying. That's a famous quote now by Shad. So let's talk about Liam Cohen's presser. Obviously, he met with media yesterday. And like I said, in a week, a lot can change. Trent Baalke was fired last Wednesday.
Feels like 10 years.
Doesn't it feel so long?
That feels like it's been a month.
This day a week ago, like you said, I was like, whoa, Ben Johnson was just hired. I was sad over a national championship loss, and that feels like 3 weeks ago.
It really does, and I had perfect timing in planning the camping trip, even though I didn't plan it. But I didn't have to talk about Ohio State winning the national championship whatsoever last week, which was glorious. But as far as Liam Cohen, okay, so one of the answers that I loved, and I'm not going to need to play the audio because it's not a football-related thing, but when he talked about his dad and how growing up, it was awesome to have his dad as a hero, and best friend, and got to live with basically his hero and best friend. I thought that was a great sentiment. Terrible Duval. We had played his
but it's
first
fine,
Duval.
right? His first Duval was
so much better.
Also, the context again, and I had to explain this to somebody on the phone this morning. The context of where he was in his speech and the tone in which he was speaking, and he was trying to come at it from a Duval, like trying to be like almost like sneak up on you. If you listen to the context of the speech, you see why he said it the way he did. Because it just naturally flowed that way, but then he realized, oh, this doesn't sound normal. It happens. I talk on TV and radio for a living. Trust me, the number of times I've said something and it's come out of my mouth and I've been like, not the best, but that's okay. We're going to keep going with it.
Yeah, and that's my thing. It was awful. Like, there's no denying it was
really
so bad. It reminded me, like, the moment I was embarrassed for him because it's like those situations. Yes, and it's those situations, when you're like at the airport and like the person at the checking your tickets like, have a great flight, and you're like, you too. too. And it was like, and then you're walking, you're like, why did I just say you too? And that moment was when you think about it and you're like, now I looked silly because of this, and you're overthinking it. Not saying Liam Cohen is overthinking it, but I'm sure he is like, okay, I sounded a little goofy there. And his wife's like, yeah, you did.
Yeah. And we've all, like you said, we've all had those moments where we wish we could take it back. But
It's fine. Like,
I do think that if you're going to do it in the press conference, you do have to say it with conviction and not kind of try to slide it in and like leave it with a question mark at the end. That's almost how it was to me. But either way, moving on to the actual football stuff, I loved Liam Cohen's approach to, the entire organization. He is forward focused, I believe. He, I think, can see a plan for this team and how to make them a lot better quickly because he can already identify the areas where they are weak. And he's obviously not going to point all those things out in specificity yesterday. Specificity? I don't forget how you say that. Either way, specifically. But Liam Cohen, I do think, identified very particular things, and it wasn't just a generic press conference, and I loved that approach.
I typically, for full transparency, Lauren, do not be offended when I say this. I hate when we get mushy-gushy about family and wives and yada, yada, yada. There were real tears in that front row yesterday from Liam Cohen and his family. And I thought about it, and this is with all due respect to the previous head coaching introductory press conferences that I've been a part of, both here with the Jaguars and elsewhere. I don't know if I've ever been in one where there was that much emotion from the family of the new head coach to my right. And I also don't know, and I would have to go back and rewind the tape, I don't know, and again, this is with all due respect to the previous last three coaches of the Jacksonville Jaguars, I don't know if they actually addressed their wife specifically in such specific terms the way Liam Cohen did. Let alone the fact that, yes, his mother has passed away, and the fact that his father shouts out in the front row, she's still here today. Being 6 feet away from his father as he says that, if that doesn't give you goosebumps, like, again, maybe it's because I was in the room, and I hate the mushy-gushy stuff. I do not want to come here and try to give him the 10 out of 10. Oh, you're the company line. But you could feel for so many of the people in that room that this was a climactic point, but just the beginning of that climactic pinnacle for someone who this has always been the goal.
Wait, why would I be offended?
Oh, I'm referring to, like, sometimes we go like,
because you said one of your favorite parts was the much like him saying about his dad, and Lauren, she was kind of like,
I'm saying you say that a lot, so which is fine.
I don't mind. Like, I am personally an emotional person, so when I feel emotion from people, and that's a reason where I've used the word a lot when I explain like the Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions and how they're emotional. I respect that. I like that. I think there's a whole other level that shows how much you care when that much emotion bleeds through in your work. And especially if you have something else. And I'm sure there's a lot of things. I'm sure, yes, like this moment he's been waiting for a long time as being a head coach in the NFL. His dad saying something like, obviously we didn't hear that, so I didn't know that story about him saying that about the mom.
I didn't know if it came across on the broadcast.
Yeah, I did not personally hear that. So hearing stuff like that adds a whole nother layer. This last week has had to be crazy emotional because he is deciding over, and as much as we want to mock Tampa and everything that's gone on and whatever, he was leaving something where he had grown very close to a lot of those players. We've seen tweets of him talking to Baker and him talking to other players on that team. And so you when you're coaching players like that, you form a relationship with those guys. You form a relationship with other coaches. So you deciding to leave a team and it going the way that it did adds a whole other layer of emotion. And then we heard his son was in the hospital. You're adding that layer of emotion. So there's a lot of things. And this was probably this very surreal moment for him of like, okay, yes, I'm getting my dream job, but this last week has been this roller coaster of all of these things. And now also people are just like, my character's being talked about at this point in certain aspects, and my dad's here, and I'm thinking about my mom and all of those things. So to me, I respect all of that. It's hard to take that fully away. When you're experiencing one of the best days of your life, the first people you think of are the ones you love the most.
Absolutely. And your family, that's how you got to this point. And I love the part about the dad because he has lost his mom. And so his dad has been that person there for him when he's been going through that. And if you've ever lost someone that's super close to you, that grief lingers. But either way, as far as the football side of things, he wants the team to play fast, fundamentally sound, attacking, situational masters, and tough, both mentally and physically. The part that stood out to me, ding, 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 Trevor Lawrence, I hope you were listening, situational
He was sitting next to
masters.
Gene, by the way.
Okay, yeah.
The photo that was sent to me from just that lineup is great, but that's a story for another time. Continue.
But yeah, I hope Trevor was listening to the situational masters part, because there has been multiple times that we have seen Trevor Lawrence not handle situational football properly. And to be a situational master, that means you got to spend a lot of time knowing what you are supposed to do when the clock is running out, or what you are supposed to do to play another down.
Yeah, I'm personally not the biggest fan of like the acronyms in the football world. A lot of them have worked out terribly in a lot of the sense. We saw everybody with the Texans putting the wrong like letters up on theirs, but that was Eberflus's thing, was hits, and I hated it so much.
All gas, no break with Robert Saleh.
Yeah, it's just not my favorite thing. But if that's your way of conveying something, then do it. But you also have to get it to happen. If not, that's something that people will hold over forever. That fast word is now going to be what people are going to hover over his head for a long time. So if things are not working that way, that's going to come back and bite him a lot. But when you go through those words individually, I think it is something that a lot of us have been talking about. And when he was in this press conference, I mentioned the offensive line to Mike Dempsey, how that was one of my favorite parts of that, just the emphasis on it, because how much have I been talking about, we've been talking about the offensive line for years now. That I loved. I love the physical and the savages. That was probably my favorite thing out of the whole entire press conference, because I tweeted about this. Like, I remember a year ago when Doug Peterson jokingly mocked us, people asking if physical was the identity, and he was like, football's physical, you blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, but there are more physical teams, and now you got out physicaled this whole last season. So Liam Cohen coming in here and being like, no, we want this to be very physical. We want to be savages on the football field. Give me that energy, because we need toughness here in Jacksonville.
Verbatim, too. It was, I need savages.
Yeah.
Was the exact quote that was given to a media scrum. I do want to encourage you guys, because I didn't realize, like I said off the top, I didn't realize that you couldn't hear a lot of the background conversation, or at least things from the crowd. Did you guys hear Mark Long's second question when he went off the microphone? I'm just kidding. I had to get that out there. He asked the second question, but he didn't have the microphone.
Oh.
That, I'm told, you were able to hear that on the live stream, but you didn't hear his dad, which now knowing that.
And maybe I just didn't hear it. Maybe if you were listening, because I was kind of listening through obviously we have the speakers in our ceiling. So
Correct.
It's not like I'm full on by the speaker.
I would also encourage you, just for purposes of, again, context, full nuanced understanding, Rick Stroud, who joined us last week after the deal was all but finalized between Liam Cohen and the Jaguars, did drive up from Tampa town. And some of the quotes that Liam gave him are vastly different than what you heard in the press conference, what perhaps you've read, so far from the talented Jaguars reporters across our great city, because obviously the nature of Rick's questions were geared towards the Buccaneers. Mm-hmm. But knowing that Liam Cohen addressed with Rick, look, it's tough. It's going to be tough for a few days, but I believe I'm on firm ground with everybody down there. Maybe not Jason Licht, but that's a story for another time. He didn't say that. I did. But hearing the quotes about FaceTiming with Baker as soon as he did have the offer, and they're in the Bahamas, talking to Bucky Irving, and he's like, I love you, go get the bag. I think that anyone who is still critical, the Bucs fans that are in all of our 1010XL comments on Instagram and YouTube and Twitter and et cetera, let them keep yelling into the ether, because from my reporting, from what he told Rick, I think all parties involved understand we're moving forward. He was their pick. Mm-hmm. He was who Shad Khan identified after those 10 first-round interviews. And as he noted, he identified Liam Cohen even prior to opening up the head coaching search. He had heard in league circles for about a year and a half of, hey, if you're looking for young, up-and-coming, this is the guy. And then he lived up to the billing, and here we are.
Yeah, the only thing we'll never know is, again, why did Shad wait to fire Trent until last Wednesday instead of just firing him when he fired Doug Peterson? Why didn't Liam Cohen pick up the phone and call the Bucs organization when he was on his way to Jacksonville instead? Because of different sources, the Bucs found out he was already in Jacksonville, and Liam said, I'm going to go to Jacksonville and take the offer. They already knew he was here. So all he had to do, obviously, was give the call before
honesty,
before he gets here. But Taylor, what I thought you would love is he is going to call offensive plays.
Yes.
So that is good news. We've got a lot of Jaguars news surrounding the team as well. We'll get to on the other side and let you hear from Liam Cohen himself, along with the owner, Shad Khan. You are listening to Helmets and Heels. It's an Epic Cool Heating and Air Tuesday. EpicHVACervice.com. You can call them at 904-859-EPIC and mention 1010XL for exclusive discounts. It is 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Every game is a story.
And the game is tied.
Every play is a moment waiting to happen.
We're going to overtime.
Your home for the most play-by-play is 1010XL.
It's playoff time, and now's the time to cash in on the postseason. Joe C for Hard Rock Bet, and the place for all the action during the playoffs is Hard Rock Bet, all the way to the big game. HardRock.bet running new promos every day to start the new year, including football specials, odds boost, so you can make the most of every bet. It's so easy to download the app and immediately get in on the action. Just search Hard Rock Bet. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Call 1-888-ADMIT-IT.
Mia here. You want to know what I'm so over? Resolutions. I mean, you're just kind of setting yourself up for a letdown, right? You want to know what I am into, though? The revolution. Hitting the road in a new Toyota from Arlington Toyota. So what do you say? Join the Arlington Revolution and save big with financing as low as 0% on select new Toyota models. 0%. Or join the revolution with up to $8,500 off select new Toyotas. I like saving $8,500, don't you? Plus, every new purchase from Arlington Toyota comes with Arlington's lifetime warranty. That's unlimited time and miles. And Arlington's 60-day exchange program. That's 60 days to love your new Toyota purchase or exchange it for the one that you do. Now's the time to save big and join the revolution in a new Toyota from Arlington Toyota. Shop in person, 10939 Atlantic Boulevard, or online anytime at arlingtontoyota.com. Visit arlingtontoyota.com/0% for full details.
Aunt Linda clogged the guest bathroom. Your nephew thought the AC was a snow machine. And let's not even talk about the kitchen sink after that turkey grease incident. Ooh.
Congratulations, your family finally left. But the mess stayed behind.
Don't worry. Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning can fix it all. From backed up pipes to
Start the new year fresh, because your house deserves it.
Call Duck Rooter today at 904-862-6769. When you're stuck, call the Duck. Right now, get $50 off any service of $150 or more.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family-owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at StanleyPoolsFL.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code TURN to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code TURN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code TURN for a 25 cents.
Begins with Speed Weeks, presented by Advent Health, February 12th through 16th. The Daytona 500 is sold out, but you can still win a 4-pack of tickets to all the other Speed Weeks races. What anniversary of the Great American Race does 2025 mark? Text the anniversary number to 641-1010. What anniversary of the Great American Race does 2025 mark? Text the answer to 641-1010 for a chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to Speed Weeks races.
Do you have clicking, popping, swelling, or pain in your knee or shoulder? This can be due to arthritic changes in your joints. Over time, you have wear and tear of your cartilage. I am Dr. George Bari, and here at Bari Orthopedics, we have numerous ways to treat your arthritis, such as regenerative medicine, including PRP and joint replacements with CT guidance for accuracy down to the millimeter. If you are experiencing any of these symptoms, call us for an appointment today, or log on to BariOrthopedics.com.
Find out more at BariOrthopedics.com. That's BAHRI Orthopedics.com.
I'm Max Fink, and I'm your Gator Updater. Listen for the Gator Report several times a week on 1010XL.
Freshened up by San Jose Collision on the home of the Florida Gators, 1010XL.
Go, Gators!
Nick in here with a message from Zero Res. Did you have people over for the holidays? Kids everywhere, dirt everywhere, all over the carpets, the rugs, the sofas, and chairs. Did the kitchen towel take a beating? Sounds like it's time to call my guys over at Zero Res. The Zero Res techs will get the house looking great again. Folks, if you need help cleaning up after the holiday, give Zero Res a call. Right now, 25% off carpet cleaning, 25% off upholstery cleaning. Zero Res. Spell it forwards. Zero Res. Spell it backwards. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res. Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sonny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all you can eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Taylor Dalmy O'Brien, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you on this epic Cool Heating and Air Tuesday. You can also get discounts if you're military, police, and first responders. Find them online, epichvacservice.com. Yesterday, the newest Jacksonville Jaguars head coach Liam Cohen met with media, as did Jaguars owner Shad Khan. We'll get to a ton of sound for you in just a second, but I wanted to not break the news. I wanted to let everyone know about the breaking news yesterday. Heath Farwell, the special teams coordinator, signed a contract extension, so that is excellent news.
Yes.
Because, of course, he had 2 Pro Bowlers this season, and also Heath Farwell, from all walks of life, seems like a human being that they not so much, and I will say the Jaguars are interviewing some defensive coordinators. Ryan Nielsen is not one of the people that they have interviewed, so that is also good news I think he's a nice person, but not a great defensive coordinator.
Right, and it's a tough pill to swallow, and I will raise my hand. And for those of you who want to yell and scream at everybody at 1010, I'm okay with this one. Like, I'm okay to raise my hand because I was told by so many folks in Atlanta and New Orleans that Ryan Nielsen was a cure-all, that he was going to get this team at bare minimum to playing at a top 15 defense in the National Football League ranking, and it ultimately just never worked out. And I'll raise my hand because I was told this guy's a future NFL head coach.
And his first press conference was excellent.
Right.
So, again, the pressers.
Let's not take the pressers too much.
Exactly. And we were told, and I remember being at the
mustache. People are too obsessed with the mustache.
Being at the combine, people were like coming up to me and they're like, "Oh, you're going to love Ryan. He's brilliant, this, that, and the other." And it just...
Yeah,
it just wasn't a fit.
If he was on the list of names as far as who the Jaguars have interviewed this year, people would be up in arms, that's for sure. They have interviewed Vikings defensive pass game coordinator and defensive backs coach Durante Jones. They've interviewed Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator for the Raiders, or was, before, of course, that staff got fired. And then today, the Jaguars interviewed Rams defensive pass game coordinator and assistant head coach Aubrey Pleasant. So also good news that Liam Cohen is already starting to work on that side of the ball.
Yes.
All right, let's hear from Liam. Yesterday, like I said, he met with the media. And I mentioned yesterday, I know when he did his first Duval, I was like, oh yeah, he nailed it because
I just gave him compliments on
he was at Jaguars training camp last year in August here at the Miller Electric Center. And so he got to hear the fans over and over again. But what did he learn about the Jaguars during those practices?
That was a huge opportunity for me to see this. I walked through these halls and I'm like, oh my, this place is awesome. And you start to see it. And then during the course of practice, those few days, you're obviously competing against the defense on one side of the field. And I kept hearing oohs and ahs on the other side. And you go back and watch the tape and you see them throwing the football and BTJ going down the field and these guys making plays. And that was cool to see. I got an opportunity to talk to Josh Hines-Allen that day. I got an opportunity to talk to Luke Fortner that day, guys that I had a relationship with, if you will. Those were all little parts of this, right? Where you have an opportunity to look back and say, man, that thing's got a shot, right? And that gets you excited. And I think that was the beginning, as you mentioned, of really looking at this as the opportunity that it became.
Brian Thomas Jr., BTJ. The head coach actually says BTJ. I love that. But it's also hard to, I feel like, be on a practice field when Brian Thomas Jr. was out there last year and not notice him. I mean, the Bucs defense was constantly saying that they couldn't cover him.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the more exciting times that we had in training camp last year. As far as Liam Cohen on the back and forth, Mia, this was one of your questions on the back and forth he took between college and the NFL.
The foundation of my career started in college and locker rooms in Maine and Brown and UMass, places that, let's be honest, don't have a ton of resources. So you learn kind of your DNA as a coach in some of those places, right? And then in the last few years, you get an opportunity to go coach in the National Football League, which has been the dream. Then you go make a decision that ultimately was a little dicey at the time, I'll be honest. You go back to a place where you just had success and had a great opportunity to be at, but that was all done to go call plays again. Right, and that was the experience that I kind of missed that year in LA. Knew why I was going to take that job, but ultimately probably underestimated some of the leadership that goes with calling plays and truly running the show on offense. Things have changed in the landscape of college football, right? We all know that. When you start to have a young family, things change. Your priorities change. And the National Football League does provide a little bit more of an opportunity to be a father and a husband and a friend. And that's kind of why we've done the back and forth for the last few years. But I'll be in the NFL hopefully for a while.
Yeah, hopefully a very long time.
And again, it reflects what he has consistently said. And I got a chance to talk to Liam Cohen afterwards, and he thanked me for asking the question because he said, he's like, I like how you phrased it. Like, it's strategic. And what did we spend the last week when I had to, for lack of a better term, defend Liam Cohen and the fact that he has been in 4 locales in 4 years, but it was done with the intent of what's the ultimate dream? Mm-hmm. And perhaps I empathize given the fact that I'm from New Jersey, I went to New York, I went to Iowa, I came here, I stayed here, took a different job because it's all about building towards that dream. Yeah. Even if it means you have to move, even if it means perhaps on paper one job looks inferior to another, but you know it's going to give you the hands-on reps that you need to eventually build you and mold you into who you want to be one day. And so that's why I view it as strategic.
Yes, you and Liam Cohen are on the same exact path.
Totally. I'm going to be an NFL head coach next year, Lauren. Bet your bottom dollar. Point being,
you could still get the Saints job right now.
Exactly. It's still available. I heard Kellen Moore actually had a great interview last night, by the way. Saucy Nug there.
Should surprise no one, but does he really want to go there? That's the bigger question to me.
It's an NFL, an NFL head job, one of 32. Point being, it's strategy. Like, it unfortunately, the NFL and these owners and these teams, they don't owe you anything. At the end of the day, when you're about to be lowered into the ground, you only owe it to yourself and your family. And he owed it to himself and his family to be the best he could be. And those were opportunities that allowed for him to grow in his craft.
Right. I think the biggest thing is it's not the path that he took. At least to me, that was never an issue. A lot of coaches bounce around, and I guarantee it's difficult for the families. But Taylor, you moved a ton growing up. Yeah. Like, you could certainly speak to that.
Yeah. I went to 7 elementary schools. So
right, which is still one of the crazier things I've ever heard. 7 elementary schools. And so I know it's hard for families. And he mentioned that his wife, Ashley, is a military brat. So she certainly understood moving a lot, too. Mm-hmm. And that, like I said, that can take a toll. But I never had an issue with his path. The only issue I took was if he didn't tell the Buccaneers, I'm going to take the second interview with the Jaguars, when in his contract it stipulated the only reason we're going to pay you as the highest coordinator in all of the NFL is if you don't take the second interview. Now, you can argue that stipulation should not have been in the contract, and he also hadn't signed it yet. So all of that is fair game. The only issue, like I said, I would have is that he just wasn't upfront with them, and then that created this firestorm. And it's ironic to me because he was able to go back to 2 different places in his coaching career. So obviously in the past, he's not burned any of those bridges. No. And he's not going to go back to Tampa anyway. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure those probably are. But I don't have a problem with people questioning the bounce around. Like, any job you go talk to would ask why you were at 5 places in 5-6 years, whatever it was. That is a normal thing to ask somebody. Him having a valid answer, and from what we've all heard, and this goes back to Evan Klosky too, commented on it, of, he had loyalties to Sean McVay, and then he wanted a play call. So there was reasonings for each of the moves. I have no issue with people being concerned about that at first and wanting to know why, because like I said, I think any job interview, people would be like, hold on, why have you been moving around so much? That's a red flag.
But
if you
it's
have
also
an answer
usually
to those
moving
red flags,
up. That's the thing too. It's one thing if it's lateral lateral moves all the time. But he was climbing the ladder when he was moving. Right. And so that's where, yes, other than maybe going to Kentucky after being in the NFL, then going back to Kentucky. But
the
for
NFL
the most part,
is where people's questions came. But there's answers for all of that. And now we've heard that. So to me, those questions have been answered. You can kind of push that aside. And when you're looking now forward, obviously, this is, 5 years is what he signed here?
5-year deal.
5 year. So at least 5 years here in Jacksonville. And that's what you have to focus on now is what needs to be done in these next 5 years to get the Jaguars where they are. I did also like, because people were, he got asked about if he thought about how the Jags are going to have limited capacity and then have to play away and all of that stuff. And I did like his answer to that, because he was kind of like, that was honestly like kind of appealing to me in this sense, because, and I like that side of it, because most people might have looked at it as like, nah, I don't really want to, like, we're only going to be playing in a limited capacity stadium. Then we're not going to be in Jacksonville at all. And then we're already going to London for games and blah, blah, blah. And he obviously is embracing everything that is Jacksonville and looking in the future, which also is a positive sign for me, because he is like, but then we're going to have this new stadium, one of the best state-of-the-art stadiums in the NFL. And so there are things to look forward to beyond that, and the confidence that the fan base will travel to see them no matter what.
And I've maintained that from my reporting, from everything I was told. I know that there was this notion in various media circles here locally of people aren't going to want to take the job because of that. That was never the case, because at minimum, whoever the next head coach would be would get a 4-year deal. Mm-hmm. And unless things go royally wrong, they would be here for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Yeah. That is that brand new shiny stadium. And if nothing else, they have a brand new shiny Miller Electric Center that they can use even while the stadium is in a limited capacity and then unusable for one single season. By the way, on the MyBookie Digital Studio, which is another way you can get in on the conversation by searching 1010XL on YouTube, X, or Facebook, leaving us a comment there. Jason Von Bush says that everyone will sign up to play for Mia O'Brien's NFL team, Lauren.
That's good to know. The Jaguars, by the way, when they're away from Jacksonville, the options are still on the table. It hasn't been decided as to what they're going to do. Some people speculate it'll be Gainesville, some games in London. Other people speculate it'll be Orlando, some games in London. Once that's finalized, obviously, we'll fill you in on the details. More from Liam Cohen on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on an epic Cool Heating and Air Tuesday on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
That's a fascinating little gadget. It's going to replace CDs soon, so I'll have to buy the White Album again.
What is this? It's a 1010XL.
The past is past, the future's now.
Do the Garber wiggle, Garber wiggle, 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 Garber wiggle. It's the time of year all our customers love. At Garber Auto Mall, every 2024 must go. Take advantage of thousands in discounts on all new Chevy, Buick, GMC, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Ford. Visit us in Green Cove Springs or at GarberAutomall.com. And remember, at Garber Auto Mall, there's always a little room for wiggle. Garber wiggle, Garber wiggle, 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 Garber wiggle.
Nia here for MyBookie. Our listeners have been killing it, and we're now set for the final stretch of the road to New Orleans. MyBookie is the one book that has your back. No fluff, no second guessing, just straight up action. Does your other sports book pay out when you push on a bet? MyBookie pays you back. And if you're new to the game and not sure where to start, we have you covered too. Step 1, use our promo code 1010XL. That'll double your bankroll with a 50% deposit bonus straight from the jump. Here's a pro tip to get you rolling. The big game prop bets are going to be plentiful. Take a hard look at player props and those wacky big game props you select each year from MyBookie. Stack that with MyBookie's Risk-Free Thursdays. Why wait? That's right there, a new risk-free odds boost each and every Thursday. To find the bet, click the Bet Boost tab and scroll down. If it hits, you win. If it doesn't, MyBookie refunds your money. Sign up now and get your 50% bonus with MyBookie, the best sign-up bonus for Florida bettors. The road to New Orleans is here for the big game. Bet anything, anytime, and from anywhere with MyBookie. And don't forget that promo code 1010XL.
AC replacement? If your AC unit is ready to go kaput, then it's time to call Florida Home AC. With over $3,000 in tax credits waiting for you on select systems, take advantage of it. Call 777-4300. Get Florida Home AC to cool you off.
Our slogan, Know Before You Blow, applies to more than just DUI cases. Hi, I'm attorney Lee Lockett of Lockett Law. Battery charges can result in jail time and criminal convictions too, so know before you blow a gasket and hit a loved one or a stranger. Drug crimes like possession of marijuana and cocaine will land you in cuffs too, so know before you blow. In a boating under the influence case, you also have the option to blow or not to blow. So know your options. Know before you blow. Go to knowbeforeyoublow.com now. Offices Jacksonville.
No matter what the reason, sending a floral arrangement from Coen Flowers always works. For unique and special gifts, visit their showroom on Beach Boulevard. ET here with 1010XL. Coen Flowers is my go-to, and it should be yours too. Online at coenflowers.com.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On January 28, 1992, NHL legend St. Louis wing Brett Holt becomes the second player in NHL history to record back-to-back seasons, 50 goals in 50 games.
Joe C. for Preferred Roofing, reminding you your roof is more than just felt and shingles. It's a system that not only keeps your home dry, but also impacts your heating and cooling bills. Preferred Roofing and Construction is a GAF Master Elite Roofing Contractor, lauded for having the ability to educate and inform homeowners on their options. Why GAF and Preferred Roofing? They're veteran-owned and operated with ties to Duval for decades. A family business ready to make sure your family has a good roof over its head. Log on, preferredroofingjacks.com.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Pacifico is brewed for those who let go of the things that don't matter and hold on to the ones that do. That's living life anchors up.
Pacifico, found in Baja, imported by surfers. Ask for a Pacifico when you're ready to live life anchors up.
Pacifico is a crisp golden lager, brewed for those who know. It's what's behind a label that matters.
Hi, folks. I'm Frank Frangie for Ricketts Electric. Now, any good lineup needs power. When I needed a power connection for our new Walk-Off Charities baseball park, I found the perfect partner in Ricketts Electric. You're going to love these guys, I'm telling you. The Ricketts family has been providing commercial and residential electric service for years. So call my buddy Zach Ricketts today at 904-320-5960, and you can find them on Facebook as well. You will trust them. That's Ricketts Electric, the city's best power connection. Call them today at 320-5960.
D1 Training East Jacksonville invites you to their mega NFL football camp at the Bowl School February 1st from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Ages 7 through 16. Get hands-on coaching from former NFL players at every single station. The coaches lineup put together by Connor and Sam at D1 is proudly sponsored by Tim Tebow. To sign up, call 904-901-6470.
Hi, I'm Tara Gross. Thank you to the players for your ongoing commitment to Northeast Florida. At Mayo Clinic, we share the same drive through world-class innovation, improving the lives of both our patients and the community. It's 42 days until the players.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Helmets and Heels is switched on by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Upscale Lighting, Fans, and Home Decor on 1010XL.
Liam Cohen, new Jaguars head coach, met with media yesterday. So did Jaguars owner Shad Khan. Let's let you hear a little bit more from both of them. Plus, Liam was also on the Frangie Show. I want to let you hear all of that great audio. We'll start with, and I think a lot of people want to know the answer as far as how to make the Jaguars' run game better. So Liam was asked, of course, about how he improved the Bucs' run game last year.
It's a great question. I think those guys that first started with their willingness and openness and a little bit of humility to not want to be at the bottom anymore. I mean, that was the reality, right? The previous 2 years, those guys, they wanted more from themselves. They wanted a different respect level around their peers and around the NFL. And so all we did was come in with the mindset of it takes all 11. It takes all 11 to get better in the run game. Mike Evans, Hall of Famer, digging out support on the front side of runs, selflessness, quarterback being involved, everybody being involved, and you started to show them examples of that, whether it's in LA, Minnesota, whatever it is, Green Bay, a ton of different places run a similar system and have had similar success running the football, which now also helps the pass game, the defense, the special teams. And so I think the buy-in was pretty quick, but those guys knew it had to happen.
This is when I wish training camp was next week, because for me, the offensive line is going to be one of the more fascinating position groups that Liam and his staff attack. Do we see Anton Harrison play left tackle and Walker Little's a swing tackle and they figure out a different right tackle and the interior of the line?
You really don't
different?
like Walker, man.
It's not. I have nothing against Walker. I just wonder, because the
his vision.
previous GM is the one who signed him to the extension. What do they think about him? Walker
Okay.
Little couldn't beat out Cam Robinson for years, so just how do they evaluate him?
There's also a chance that Walker Little's college offensive line coach is the offensive line coach here.
That's also a possibility. And
But
maybe,
that's what she's saying. What
Walker
happens?
could also play right tackle, even if that's the case.
Different players, when coaches come in, are going to value players differently. That's just what it is. They're going to evaluate these guys differently. What somebody last year, what Rauscher and what Press Taylor saw, maybe they're looking at this. Maybe Liam Cohen looks at this and was like, I like these 4 of 5, and I want to keep it the way it is. So we really only need to dress he may look at this and be like,
Right
man,
guard.
this needs a lot of help, because he did add several things to the Bucs line, and that was obviously something that they really highly felt like they needed to fix, and kind of quickly there. And I remember going back to this offseason asking, I can't remember who we had on, but it was about when we were talking to someone from Tampa Bay, and I asked about Bucky Irving, and they were like, I think he'll be more of like a special teams guy this year. And now look at it, because that is how much different coaches, different offensive coordinators, different offensive line minded guys look at guys differently. And someone may come in here and be like, I only like 2 of these guys. Like, let's mix this all up. So it will be fascinating, but I will say, and I'm going to keep saying it, and when I was just on Crosstalk with Mike Dempsey, last year I said, you want to know what Trevor Lawrence is after this year. And so you need to fix this offensive line. You need to get the run game going. That's the only way that you're going to be able to truly evaluate a quarterback and at what level you think they are. Obviously, he got the contract before the season, so that didn't even really matter. That was when we were talking about, are they going to wait until before, after, whatever the situation may be. And Trevor got hurt, so we didn't even get to really fully evaluate Trevor for this season anyways. But you've got to be able to stop making excuses at some point. You've got to stop being like, well, the play calling, well, the offensive line, well, we can't run the ball, and be able to fully evaluate your quarterback. And we haven't been able to.
They were good at pass blocking this past season, the offensive line. They were not great at run blocking.
Right.
And so
But not being able to run affects being able to pass.
Right. But you can't have, an effective run game if you have guys that are not nasty, especially in the interior. You don't have nasty maulers. And I have no issues with Walker Little. I think he played well when he became the full-time starter. I'm just already wondering how Liam Cohen is viewing this group, because as we know, for 2 years now, the offense has been trash. Now, is all of a sudden his play calling just going to magically cure everything? Maybe, but I don't get that sense because of how much he's talked about the offensive line. And speaking of that, on the Frangie show yesterday, he did say the offensive line is the number one thing that needs to be fixed.
That's the number one thing that we need to really get right. Like, that is such an important position. When you go into a game plan, what we think about is, how do we take care of and protect and make the game easier for the quarterback and the offensive line on the offensive side of the ball. On the flip side of it, defensively, how do we impact and affect the quarterback and the offensive line? That's really what we're trying to get accomplished. So the O-line hire, that process, that culture, all of what goes into that position, that's going to be one of the top hires that we make this year.
Liam Cohen, the head coach. Let me echo something the mayor just told you. You're going to love this city.
I do think also when we're talking about this offensive line, we're obviously, you want to address those starting 5 because you want your best 5 out there. But it's no secret that there's been a lot of injury issues on this offensive line. And when you've had to replace those people, it's been bad. And even somebody like Walker Little, he's had ankles, he's had hamstrings, he's had knee injuries in just these 2 seasons. I want to say 7 or 8 games where there's different injuries that have happened. You need to have someone that you're confident in. Look at Philly. I mean, nothing gets shaken on that line. Someone gets out, someone who's not even supposed to be playing comes in and their offensive line looks the same. That does not happen here.
That's coaching.
Yeah, and players having actual personnel, and we don't have that. You don't have anywhere close to that in Jacksonville. So as he's evaluating these starting 5, he also has to evaluate everything else, because the offensive line and having this massive drop off when the moment someone falls and you're like, oh no, this is about to be bad. You can't have that happen. And the teams that are the best built are the ones that don't even flinch when they lose one of those guys.
Right, and we'll learn certainly more once a new GM is hired, and then if we see some contracts getting restructured in the offseason as far as how they feel about the players that that they have. Another one from the Frangie show. Speaking of staff, that's where the focus is now.
The fundamental focus right now is to go hire the best staff that we can possibly put together for these players. That is the number one focus. Starts with the defensive coordinator position. Feel really good about, being able to move on to the offense after we've done some of the work on the defensive side of the football first and foremost. Obviously want to try to get the special teams taken care of. I think I've got a ton of respect for Heath and what he did. Love to be able to try to get that one locked in and get him back here, man. That's a fundamental piece that I would love to be able to get that done.
Okay.
I think we're really in a good spot with him. And that's the first thing, guys, right? That's the first thing we need to do is get this staff taken care of. And then move on to the next task. But that's the only thing. And really, honestly, guys, within this week, getting to know these players more. That's got to be the focus.
Liam could have taken the opportunity to break the news on the Frangie show that Heath Farwell had already signed a contract extension. Come on, Liam.
Maybe he was like, can I say this?
Right. I think it was more so he respectfully avoided that. But, yeah, maybe we were teeing him up a little bit for that. Maybe we knew something. We'll just leave it at that. Yeah, massive move. What I kept hearing out of the Miller Electric Center the last few weeks is that Shad wanted someone with the juice as his next head coach. And when you go and get someone with the quote-unquote proverbial juice, you need a staff, as Liam so eloquently stated yesterday, who are in alignment with said mantra, the juice, so to speak. That's not to say that everybody should be bouncing off the walls, but it's to say that that high energy style, it needs to be resonated throughout every single person on the coaching staff. No one brought the juice more in a lost season. No one brought the juice more, quite frankly, even in the 2022 season than Heath Farwell. He has that juice. Rain, shine, happiness, sadness, win, loss.
Yeah, a lot of our juice came from the special teams side of the ball and the coaching and on the football field.
Yeah, Logan Cook and Ross Matisek and obviously Cam Little, I think one day too, will be some of the best at their positions throughout the NFL. We saw that obviously this past season. And like I said, I think Cam Little will join some of the best kickers. He just didn't get a ton of opportunities this season. Obviously, there weren't a lot of close games. Well, there were close games, but it didn't come down to his kicks.
Like he was making some great ones, but it wasn't talked about because it wasn't a game where it's like the Jags win in final seconds because Cam Little hits a 56-yard field goal. So once those moments start happening, then people will notice more.
Right. And yes, the Jaguars lost a lot of one-score games, but it was more they lost by touchdowns than they lost by field goals. All right, I want you to hear a couple comments from Shad Khan, asked about the timeline of the general manager hiring process.
I think that date is February 28th. I believe that's the NFL mandated. I think our priority is obviously to get Liam settled in and, have him build his staff and then, start the search. But, we're hoping to be done by that date.
Yeah, the combine does start February 27th, so you might want a general manager in place before then.
And I'm pretty sure if they don't by then, you can't hire one until after the draft is what I saw also. So if you don't get one by that date, then you have to wait until the total draft is over until you find your general manager. I would hope it's sooner than that. February is a very important month when you are in the spot that when you're building a coaching staff, when you're starting to think about the free agency, obviously, which is just around the corner, combine's just around the corner, and honestly, the draft at this point already too. So I'm not saying I want them to super rush into this, but I'd rather not it be February 26th, and then you're just like, oh, by the way, we got one in. I feel like a lot lot would be missed in February if you don't have a general manager.
It's the drop dead date is the 28th.
Yeah, that's why I think he said that.
And in previous years, it's March 1st. That's just. Thank you, Shad, for clarifying. It's not March 1st. It's February 28th. It's one day later. Is it a leap year? Is it not? I'm just kidding. It's not. So yes, thank you for clarifying that, Shad. But I anticipate you will hear names being requested, in my estimation, by the end of this week. What's going to be curious is we don't know to the extent of the contingency that the Jaguars have sent to the Senior Bowl this week. I would assume all their scouts are boots on the ground. But then in contrast, how many people stay behind here? Are the interviews being conducted at the Senior Bowl? Many interviews for not just players, but for for assistant coaching positions do take place there in Mobile this week. And so is the goal, hey, we're going to focus on that, then we'll worry about the GM search. Are both happening simultaneously? That remains to be seen.
One more from Shad Khan, and just like the timeline of hiring a GM, here's the timeline of firing the previous one.
After the 10 video interviews were done and we were ready that was a transition point for me to reflect and what was the right thing for the organization, and that's when I decided that it was time for a change.
Very well said answer from Shad Khan. I thought it was one of Shad's better press conferences in my 6+ years covering the team. I thought he was succinct. I thought he was to the point. He sidestepped when he needed to, but not in an uncomfortable sense. He did tell us that he learns something new each and every day. He's always learning. We appreciate that because we always are learning here on this program and at 1010XL. And yeah, I thought, it was the right answer to just say after the 10 interviews, I reflected and here we are. It's not a lie. It's not a lie.
It's funny because I feel like I got nothing out of Shad's. Like, I just felt like it was the most basic. Like, I'm just saying this just to, like, not make anybody mad at this point and try and get it was almost like a little sarcastic I was feeling, too, when it came to that. If you're not learning, you're dying. It was like, I don't really want to answer you, so I'm just going to give some kind of, like, sarcastic answer. But whatever. I mean, at this point, I know he's like, I did what all of you guys have been asking. I liked that one. I liked that he was like, I'll fire Trent if I need to, right in front of Trent's face. Like, give me that energy. I wanted a little more honesty, I felt like, in this one because it was so messy last week. But whatever, move on. I guess at this point, he's like, I did what you guys wanted me to do. Balky's gone. Doug's gone. We got Liam Cohen. We're paying him a lot of money, so let's just move on.
But that's the point. Like, it felt like he was strategic in being in giving non-answers. In a previous era, when he gave non-answers, I was like, my goodness, he doesn't even know like what's going on. Shad knew what was going on. He knew what questions we were going to be asking.
Because he did all of this.
Right.
Of course he knows what's going on.
But I appreciate it.
And he said he was much more involved this time around.
Right.
And by the way, I think it's so funny. The Florida Forum really does tie into all of this.
Yep.
That night at the speaker series, I told y'all we got to hear from Deepak Chopra and Shad Khan was moderating, and it was a lovely evening. And immediately Shad left from there. There's a VIP reception immediately following, and everyone thought that Shad might be there, but no, he was having to leave immediately to go interview someone. That person was Liam Cohen. All the Bucks people thought that it was this 5-hour-long interview.
Because it ended so late, everyone was like, what is
right, because it ended somewhere a little before midnight. Clearly, Shad is someone who does not sleep because a lot of these transactions happen when everyone else is sleeping. But yeah, he interviewed Liam that night, that Wednesday night for the first time, and then the process of how the second interview came about has a little bit more holes to fill in, but in the end, we know that he came to Jacksonville last week, and Shad said, this is the guy we want. This is the guy that like Mia said, I've heard about for a long time. He's an offensive mind. He's a pro, and I'm going to make him the next Jags head coach. And it got done like I said before, it got done in a very circuitous fashion, but it got done at the same time. And so now we look to the future and how this roster will be built, how Liam's offense will look, what Trevor Lawrence can do. That to me is another really fascinating thing. Trevor obviously had Urban Meyer and the entire disaster that was. Doug Peterson, we all thought was a quarterback whisperer in the next year because the Jags make it to the playoffs. But I don't know that they ever had a great relationship. Maybe they did at the beginning and maybe it soured. I don't know. But it does seem like Liam, being certainly a former quarterback as well, and Trevor, and especially the younger generation too, a little bit more closer in age at least, that they'll have a totally different relationship. And I think that's important.
Yeah, me too. And that's why I think a lot of people on this show, in this building, on our text line, everywhere you can think about, we're all saying they also want that young offensive mind. And Trevor said it too. And I think that's why it goes beyond for me. And a lot of the reasons were I didn't want to have to get this defensive-minded guy, get an OC. If the OC works, you're losing him to a head coaching job. If the OC doesn't work, he's getting fired in a few years. Then we're looking at another offensive coordinator that is having to work with Trevor Lawrence. I didn't want to go through that again. And so having a head coach that is an offensive mind and a young offensive mind gives me hope that this is somebody that, number one, can be here for a long time, but also this relationship that Trevor has with somebody who is calling plays doesn't have to be built all over again.
Right. That relationship is incredibly important. I mean, this is the guy that is either going to lead your franchise to the Super Bowl or not. That's kind of how I feel about the best quarterbacks can take their teams to the Super Bowl or they don't. Patrick Mahomes, by the way, and I know y'all know this, but he's gone to the Super Bowl more times in his career than he hasn't. He's gone to the Super Bowl more times in his career than he hasn't.
Also, by the way, I did see on a stat the other day that this is the 6th straight year that both head coaches are offensive-minded coaches in the Super Bowl, too.
And I think Shad took note of that.
Yeah.
Maybe a Super Bowl will one day land here. Our highlights are next. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on an epic Cool Heating and Air Tuesday. You can find them online at epichvacservice.com or call 904-859-EPIC. Heels highlights on the other side.
Through thick and thin.
I love
my Jaguars.
Your home for Jaguars football
Forever and ever and ever.
is 1010XL.
It's New Year's resolution time, so why not skip the guilt and do something you'll actually stick to? Mia here for my friends at Duck Duck Rooter. How about fixing that leaky faucet, unclogging that drain, or getting that AC ready for the summer? Duck Duck Rooter is here to help you keep this resolution. Call 904-862-6769 or visit duckduckrooter.com. Invest in your home and start the year off right. Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
David Lane here, and once again, I'm happy to share news of my successful back and knee surgeries at Southeast Orthopedic Specialist. Whatever it is that's bothering you, take it from me. Simply set an appointment today at Southeast Orthopedic Specialist and let them help you get back to normal life. I'm certainly glad I did.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Hey, nice job, Pete. I like those clean lines. Fellas, do we have anyone that can get to Greenport today?
At Corey's Landscaping, the staffing plan is in the weeds.
Anthony, we need that leaf blower over here. 3 more new customer requests just came in. Who wants to work some overtime?
He needs to dig up quality landscapers and fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Ammon, you're always talking about how clean air is healthy air. I've had this cold for weeks. Can cleaning my air ducts actually help?
Well, Dad, I'm not a doctor, and let's be honest, you probably caught that cold from one of your grandkids. But I can tell you this, the cleaner your air, the better you'll feel.
Makes sense, but what do air ducts have to do with it?
Your ducts are like the lungs of your home. If they're full of dust, allergens, and who knows what else, all that junk gets blown into the air you breathe, especially now that the heat's running. And the EPA says improving indoor air quality can reduce health risk.
So you're telling me my vents are working harder than my immune system?
Exactly. That's why Zero Res is here. We're NADCA certified, and our truck mount system is the most powerful in the industry. Right now, we're even offering $100 off your total for January.
All right, sign me up. If it makes me feel better and keeps your mom off my back, I'm all in.
Good call, Dad.
Zero Res.
Spelled forward or backwards.
It's the right way to clean.
CEROREC. Zero Res.
It's about the hunt.
Captain Kevin Favor here with Captain Kirk and Jeff Lagerman. We take you from the water to the woods.
On the Nimnicht Outdoors Show. Presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning.
Let's go to the woods, y'all.
Saturday mornings from 7 to 10 on 1010XL.
Is your dog Team Rough or Team Fluff? It's officially Puppy Bowl season at Dogtopia Jacksonville Beach Boulevard. They're getting MVPs, most valuable pups, ready for the big game. Your dog deserves a tail-wagging day of fun, and Dogtopia's indoor playrooms are the perfect training ground for their game day moment. Get your dog in on all the action by visiting Dogtopia Jacksonville Beach Boulevard and St. John's Bluff. New to the pack? Enjoy a free day of daycare. Mention Puppy Bowl when booking to claim the offer.
What's happening, folks? E.T. here, and get out of the house and crush those New Year's resolutions on the beautiful trails of Clay County. With perfect weather, now's the time to explore Jennings State Forest, Mike Rose Gold Head State Park, and Belmore State Forest. And after your hike, refuel at one of Clay's local favorites, like Dalton's Sports Grill or the Corner Pocket. Clay is my home, so I can promise you my people will take care of you. Trust me, just visit exploreclay.com and share those adventures at #ExploreClay.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. Before termites attack your home or business and cause costly damage, Terminix it. Terminix stops termites in my home fast. These destructive pests may have been around for millions of years, but before they show up, so does Terminix. And their time is up. Don't live with a termite problem. I certainly wasn't going to. Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. Terminix.com.
A
Attention men and women. If you would like to get your hair back, then you need to listen to some of our clients. John in Orange Park.
IHRS showed me what was causing my hair loss and helped stop it.
Call IHRS now at 904-777-IHRS. Find out how to grow your hair back with a free hair and scalp examination. Mike from Bay Meadows.
I finally found the most experienced company who could restore my hair. Now I have hair where I had none before.
Results guaranteed. Diane from Ponte Vedra.
Now I have what lotions couldn't give me. Thick, beautiful hair.
Find out why you're losing your hair and how to grow your hair back. Call 904-777-IHRS for a limited time free hair and scalp examination.
Now my hair will grow for the rest of my life. Thanks, IHRS.
Thank you, IHRS.
Thanks, IHRS, for giving me my hair back.
Hurry and receive a free hair and scalp examination and get 2 weeks of laser treatments for free. Call IHRS at 904-777-IHRS. That's 904-777-4477. Hair4me.com.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update, brought to you by Lone Pronto. Jaguars' new head coach Liam Cohen believes his first job to fix is reconstructing the wall of Duval. Finding the right fit as an O-line coach who will help the offense run is priority number one for Cohen, who spoke more on this following his press conference on The Frangie Show.
That's the number one thing that we need really get right. That is such an important position. When you go into a game plan, what we think about is how do we take care of and protect and make the game easier for the quarterback and the offensive line on the offensive side of the ball. On the flip side of it, defensively, how do we impact and affect the quarterback and the offensive line? That's really what we're trying to get accomplished. The O-line hire, that process, that culture, that's going to be one of the top hires that we make this year.
It's 65 degrees at 12:58. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Light up your lunch with Helmets and Heels.
Presented by First Coast Lighting and Fans.
On 1010XL.
Bill O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. The Jaguars have interviewed someone else for the defensive coordinator position. I don't know how to say his last name.
Anthony Campanelli.
We cannot play his videos on our air because there's a lot of cuss words in it.
Yes, he is the current Packers linebackers coach and defensive run game coordinator. I feel like if we got most coaches in a locker room, we wouldn't be able to play a lot of the sound. Even Aaron Glenn's press conference the other day, we couldn't play all of that.
I loved that, by the way. Like, the way Aaron Glenn, that's the type of person that the New York media needs, that someone's going to snap back at him. They need somebody who's not going to let them, because they kept pushing him about Aaron Rodgers. And it was like, is Aaron Rodgers going to be the quarterback next year? And he said like 4 different times in 4 different ways. And finally he was like, I've already answered this question. It's not going to change. You guys aren't getting any more information. We're evaluating everything. Keep asking and you're wasting your time at this point. Let's move on. And I was like, oh, tell him.
Thank you, Aaron Glenn. He took him to church in more ways than one, which we appreciate. Anthony Campanelli, again, the Green Bay run game coordinator, linebackers coach. He also previously worked under Brian Flores in Miami, which means that 3 of the 4 candidates who are known to have interviewed for the Jaguars defensive coordinator position have ties to Brian Flores, not just during his time in Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell, but Brian Flores at large, which it's kind of ironic, ladies. I'm not going to lie. It's ironic to me that Doug Peterson in his 3 years here wanted the full Todd Bowles. He wanted an attack style, blitzing defense. He never got it from Mike Caldwell or Ryan Nielsen. And wouldn't it be funny if in year 1, Liam Cohen goes out and finds a Brian Flores descendant who is running cover 0 and blitzing 95% of the time. That's an exaggeration on the number, folks.
Yeah.
But Patrick Graham did run the most cover 0 of anyone in the league, and the Jaguars ranked 32nd last year.
Yeah. I think that, I love, and even obviously the chatter this last season of Brian Flores and if he was going to be a head coach this go-round. There's a lot of things that you like out of Brian Flores and what he does defensively. And when you're talking about, when we're talking about the Vikings, they're also one of the most blitz-heavy defenses in the league, too. So that is a direct correlation in how much this last year were we asking why we weren't sending guys in certain situations and how you need more pass rush. So if you're wanting that, if you're wanting what we said we wanted last year with the attack style, go after the quarterback type of guy, that's definitely the tree you want to pluck off of.
I think the defensive coordinator that comes in here has to evaluate the talent that exists too and do what these players are really good at, right? Like, don't take Foye Oluokun and make him anything other than the middle linebacker.
Yeah.
And
let's play Eric Armstead where Eric Armstead plays best.
Exactly. Whether you want to run a 3-4-4-3, I feel like at this point that is less important than putting your players in the best possible positions, and that is having Josh Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker on the field, especially in obvious passing downs. That would be also a good thing. All right, let's get it to our Heels highlights.
Now, Heels highlights. Unbelievable on 1010XL.
Love half-court 3 forces overtime and leads to an Arizona win over number 3 Iowa State.
What do you want Iowa State to do?
Yeah, Iowa State just cannot give up the 3-point line.
Del Orso.
It's got to go down the court.
3-point game. There's Love for the tie.
Junior Caminero sends this baseball into orbit to give Leon's Del Escogido the lead in the 9.
Líder en juego salvado de todos los tiempos. Duro por el center field. No. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Lo hizo otra vez. Óiganme, señores. ¿Qué palo ha dado este muchacho?
Jordan Mailata maniacally laughing as Saquon House calls is very relatable.
Have either of you watched the Junior Caminero home run video before you just heard the highlight?
No, I had not.
I was wondering if JJ LaSelva submitted a highlight at first. I'm not going to lie.
No, so Junior Caminero plays for the Rays, which is how it was alerted to
I
me.
actually did see that this morning.
But then also Scott Van Pelt put it on his show last night. And so it's one of those super high pressure situations. Game 7 of the playoffs in the Dominican Professional Baseball League. The series is tied 3-3. The game is tied 5-5 in the ninth. Like, this is the most pressure packed situation in baseball, other than, of course, like a World Series. But you know what I mean? They take this stuff very, very, very seriously. And so, as you just heard the highlight, Leones del Escogido, that was their first title since 2015-2016, but Caminero hit a shot that went 454 feet. It hit off the backboard. And by the way, the manager of this team, Albert Pujols.
Oh no way.
That's so funny.
Oh, my
Albert
God.
Pujols. And so then the best part, if you haven't watched the video, go look at MLB's site and you'll be able to see it. And so Junior Caminero hits that. It's not a walk-off because their team was batting first, but he takes an entire minute to get around the bases. He's slapping all of his teammates' hands, an actual minute to get all the way around the bases, which obviously not normal, but it was epic.
Let him have his moment. That's why, real quick, because this was not my highlight, but I saw this last night and I was cracking up. I sent it to both JJ and Dan Hicken. But AJ Minter, who now just got signed by the Mets, played at Texas A&M, and this clip recently went viral of these guys prank calling the bullpen phone when he was at Texas A&M, and they're recording it. So one kid's on the phone, they're recording it, so you see all of this interaction happen, and the guy calls, and the bullpen, they answer, and they're like, hello, and he's like, hey, let's get Minter up and moving around, and the coach is like, huh? And he's like, Minter, let's get him up and moving around, and the coach goes, Minter's in the dugout, and he's like, all right, get him in the bullpen, let's get him moving around. And the kids are like hung up because they're like, oh man, we screwed it up. Minter was already in the dugout. Next thing you know, you see them walking Minter to the bullpen, and you see them warming up AJ Minter in the bullpen.
I didn't know you could access these phones via a telephone number.
It was crazy. I was cracking up. JJ was like, that's one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen in my entire life. And at first, when I saw the clip, I thought it was in Major League Baseball. It being in college baseball, I guess, makes a little more sense than if it would have happened in Major League Baseball. But it was hilarious. If you've never seen the video, go look it up.
Yeah, I have never seen that. That is funny. And I'm sure JJ has mixed feelings on Minter going to the Mets at the end of the day. And then, Mia, I'm going to guess your highlight was men's basketball and Caleb Love.
It is. And what's funny is when I sat down to send my highlight to RJ, I looked at Kevin and I was like, man, like, kind of a lackluster week of basketball. Not lackluster week of basketball, but we talked about the rock fight between Auburn and Tennessee. And, Florida, obviously, lit the world on fire, but outside of Florida, which I didn't know if Lauren was going to pick a Gator highlight, so I'm like, I don't want to do a Gator basketball.
I've made my highlights as unpredictable as humanly possible over the last month because one of our favorite Heeligans, Jim, said he likes when he can't figure out whose highlight is whose.
That's good.
Okay.
So I've been
Maybe I should start making that a challenge.
I've been trying to go outside of the box and pick stuff that he won't know.
I like that. Jim,
Shout out to Jim.
Jim, hopefully my usual disdain for Caleb Love. Not disdain, because I do love Caleb Love. He's just the ultimate Jekyll and Hyde. Sometimes he's high, sometimes he's low, sometimes he's nowhere to be found. Other times he's the most sought-after man in the transfer portal. And so Kevin looked at me. He's like, didn't Iowa State, Arizona, end crazily when we went to bed? And I'm going to be honest with you, ladies. First off, the Duke game, Duke-NC State, despite being in the Eastern time zone, it started, I guess, at 8 or 9 o'clock. After the day that yesterday was,
no way.
I didn't know what time it was, but I guess I was laying on the couch and I thought it was a re-air. I didn't think it was live, and I kept seeing the Iowa State Arizona score in the upper right-hand graphic, and I was like, this is tape. This is from earlier. I wasn't recognizing it.
You were hallucinating.
Yes, quite literally. And so I was like, oh, let me go back and watch the highlights. And I Google Arizona, Iowa State. And the first thing that pops up is Caleb Love, half-court buzzer beater to force overtime. Because I had seen that Iowa State had lost to Arizona yesterday, which they played with fire against Arizona State earlier this weekend. So it wasn't so much of a surprise. I think the Cyclones were due. They're now 17-3. They'll surely drop from their number 3 ranking, but I don't think they'll drop all that much. I saw Gary Parrish in the CBS Sports top 25 and 1. He dropped them, I think, to 5. I think Alabama and Florida have both usurped Iowa State, which is good for the Gator fans. Point being, we finally got a highlight this weekend after a week of basketball on both the men's and the women's side that was deprived of offense. Thank you, Caleb Love. When we needed it most, there you were, just like you were at North Carolina 3 years ago in the national title game.
So Iowa State had won that close game against Texas Tech a few weeks ago. But
that was another one where they played with fire.
Then loses this one to Arizona last night. And Jordan Mailata must have, speaking of hallucinating, must have had something to make him laugh hysterically during the Eagles game against the Commanders.
Yeah, I loved this moment. Number one, as we're talking about offensive line and building that, these are the type of people that you want. Pretty much all of the Eagles offensive line you'd want. But he is just an absolute monster, but then he's so fun. He has such a personality, and it's so fun to see that because he is kind of goofy, and we've heard him sing, and we've seen all these other things from him. And so he can be that kind of teddy bear off the field, but when he's playing, he's just such a beast, and I love that. But in this play,
he was a rugby player, so
that makes perfect sense. Yeah. Yes. But this play obviously was the long Saquon touchdown in the beginning of the game, and so he was laughing anyways because he was just seeing Saquon go, and every time Saquon would break a tackle and keep going, he would laugh harder. But as he was making a block, he took on 2 guys on himself, which is also really fun to see. But he's blocking 2 guys. In the midst of this, A.J. Brown runs over and is trying to help him make a block, but A.J. Brown gets sandwiched between the 2 defenders. And so Mailata just shoves the defenders down, which takes A.J. Brown down too. So afterwards, he goes over, he's like, I'm so sorry. And A.J. Brown was like, you're good. We just scored a touchdown. You are good. But those little things, that's why the mic'd ups are fun to have because you do see interactions that you would have never known. You would have never probably seen that A.J. Brown went down with those guys and that Mailata was apologizing to him after, but that he was hysterically laughing at this run because it was almost no way, Saquon's doing this right away already.
Which later in the game, Saquon obviously blocked for another touchdown run, and you love to see that.
Yeah.
We heard from Liam Cohen earlier talking about Mike Evans when he was with Tampa, being able to block and help the run game. And that is, I think, another focus. We talk so much about the offensive line, but that's another big focus is having other guys able and willing to block. I think that's important. Since you brought up Florida basketball, Mia, I found this stat, and we've done this already once before this season, and so it's making me nervous that I'm even going to do it again. 96% of national champions since 2001 have had a top 21 Ken Pom offense pre-tournament. 91% of national champions since 2001 have had a top 31 Ken Pom defense pre-tournament. Teams that currently fit this criteria: Michigan, Purdue, Houston, Iowa State, Michigan State, Arizona, Auburn, Duke, and Florida.
And I could tell you this. And look,
I need to stop doing these stats.
A lot can change in the next 8 weeks until we get to the final, or I guess 9 weeks. I saw John Rothstein tweeted it was this past Sunday. In 8 weeks, we will have a bracket. So I guess it's in 12 weeks. We'll know who's going to the Final Four. A lot can change, but of those teams you just listed, Lauren, at this juncture, for those of you who are just getting into college basketball, those last 3 are the 3 that I look at. Maybe Houston as well, because Houston, and I know we've got a couple of Houston Cougar fans out there in Hooligan Nation, because I've heard from you that you're upset. I'm once again disrespecting them with my AP Top 25 ballot. I apologize. The Media Metrics Mafia loves them. But those last 3, Auburn, Duke, Florida, those are the 3 teams. And I said it watching the Gators against Georgia this past weekend. I said it will be a tragedy, an absolute tragedy, if Todd Golden's team cannot get out of the first weekend and they get upset in one of their first 2 games. Much like, and not to make this comparison.
They have a lot of experience, so that would be surprising.
Right.
If they can stay healthy,
the hope is that they'll get a high enough seed, although unfortunately with the way the first and second round sites are this year, the closest locale you can have is Raleigh or Lexington, which is like not great. Typically there's a Tampa, there's an Orlando,
you'd much prefer Raleigh to Lexington.
Yes. The good news is that the Sweet 16 would be in Atlanta, so that's obviously a bit more manageable. So file that one away, Gator fans. But point being, yes.
Our show needs to go live from there.
Be careful what you wish for. May or may not be in the works. Point being, those last 3 teams are the 3 teams that right now, if I had to put any money on a futures bet on mybookie.ag, it would be on one of those 3. And you couple that, Lauren, with the fun fact we had from a couple of weeks ago, where this is so absurd. For the last 20 years, if you are ranked in the top 15 of the week 6 of the AP Top 25, that team has won the national championship each of the last 20 some odd years.
If you were ranked what?
In the top 15 of the AP Top 25 week 6. It's the most random stat. Every year it comes around and I see it on the timeline and I'm like, how is this real? But you look back and every year, I think it's 22 years now, something like that. It just keeps happening. Florida, Auburn, Duke, all in that top 15 as well, week 6.
And it'll be interesting to see. Micah Handlogton, the report surfaced over the weekend that he was cleared. But some people said he was going to play. Todd Golden came out and said, no, he told Mike White ahead of the game he's not going to play. I do wonder if they're balancing the red shirt still at this point, because he obviously hasn't played yet at this point in the season. They originally told us he was out the entire rest of the season, or this entire season. And so now there's a lot of back and forth going on there. You'd obviously love to have another 7+ footer, because that's another 5 fouls that you can get. But we'll wait and see. At least that's how I'm looking at it, is obviously his health is the most important thing.
Yeah. Another fun fact before we hit break real quick. Have you guys heard that both Saquon and Cooper DeJean's birthdays on the Super Bowl?
Yes.
That's pretty cool. Especially if you win.
I was going to say, it's not that cool if you lose the Super Bowl, but yeah.
I mean, give me a Super Bowl. Get me there.
Yeah. You know that saying, I can make fun of and then insert the name, like mom, dad, brother, whatever. I can make fun of my family, but you can't. Well, on the McAfee show, they were just making fun of Liam Cohen's Duval from the press conference yesterday. Like, we can make fun of it, but McAfee, you cannot.
Oh,
He's
everybody
our guy
else.
now. I know. All right, our Terminex Pest of the Day is on the other side. Also, want you to hear a clip from Tom Brady. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on an epic Cool Heating and Air Tuesday on 10 to Nix on 92.5 FM.
Okay, just push the blue button. The blue button. Is that it? Yeah, why? What's wrong? Nothing. I just thought it'd be more complicated than that.
1010XL.
Lauren Brooks here. At Hodges Mazda, they are proud of their solid reputation in the Jacksonville community. As your hometown Mazda dealer, their high customer service standards and their huge inventory of new and used cars provide their customers a consistently first-rate car buying experience. Their professional non-commissioned sales team puts your best interest first without exception. And all new vehicle purchases include the Hodges Mazda Protection Package. Visit them online at hodgesmazda.com or stop in today to learn more and discover the Hodges Mazda difference.
AA Automotive helps keep your vehicle in dependable and safe condition. Call Sam, Harry, or Joe, and they'll check your brakes, tires, fluids, electric, and motor, so your ride runs smooth on the road. That's AA Automotive on Richard Street.
So Mike Dempsey talks about his 23 pounds lost in the first 4 weeks with Awaken 180. You know what? I lost the same amount my first 4 weeks. It's not about if you're going to lose the weight. It's about how easy it is to do it. Online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. Are you tired of wrestling with your old shower curtain? Then say goodbye to the curtain chaos. and hello to a new frameless shower enclosure. Wago Glass is clear, classy, and won't stick to you like a toddler at bedtime. Plus, it makes your bathroom look bigger and brighter. Upgrade your shower experience and step into style. Call me at Baker Glass and get ready to love your new glass shower enclosure. Baker Glass, no one treats you better.
No matter what the reason, sending a floral arrangement from Coen Flowers always works. For unique and special gifts, visit their showroom on Beach Boulevard. Dylan Denmark here with 1010XL. Coen Flowers is my go-to and should be yours. Online at coenflowers.com.
Mia here. Since 1982, Closets by Design has specialized in creating dream spaces for every budget. My designer, Frances, made the process so easy. She came to my house and designed a walk-in closet that's not only beautiful, but also incredibly functional for me and old Beau Valentine. Call today to schedule your free in-home consultation at 800-293-3744. Hey, and if you mention Mia or Helmets and Heels, you'll qualify for free base molding. Call today or visit closetsbydesign.com.
It's the Gator Podcast Channel with Frank Frangie and me, Dan Hicken, on all things Gators. Hacker and Denny Thompson have Gator Bites, and you can find them wherever you find podcasts or at 1010XL.com. Presented by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Denny Thompson here. Tyson Sound and Security has a huge prize sweepstakes now through the big game. I'm talking a 75-inch loaded Samsung TV with 3D surround sound, a sound bar with wireless subwoofer, and installation is included. Stop by the new showroom, check out the setup, and drop your name in the box for your chance to win the $2,500 prize now through February 9th. Tyson Sound and Security now at 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming, Iowa.
Mia here. When it comes to roofing, whether it be shingles, metal, or most repairs, there is one name that has protected your home since 1999. Pro-Jax Roofing. Serving all of Northeast Florida, Mike and his guys have been repairing and replacing roofs for 25 years. Need insurance help? Mike's team can help. Raised in a military family, Mike provides great attention to detail with unparalleled quality and workmanship. They also have warranties, so you can have peace of mind. Call Mike today for a free estimate or online at projaxroofingfl.com.
Hey gang, Prosser here. If you think you have problems related to the need to sell your home, we have solutions. And by we, I don't mean me. I mean ChadandSandy.com. That's Chad, A-N-D, Sandy.com. Call them today at 904-414-6200. Look, the problems could fall into a variety of areas. Maybe you want guaranteed no-hassle home sale, but don't want to give up hard-earned equity to do it. Maybe you need more space with a growing family. Doesn't matter what the problems are. You go to Chad and Sandy. Those problems are fixed. With all the recent talk about interest rates and economic uncertainty, you may be wondering if now is the right time to sell your home. Will you get the price you need? What about repairs or showings? The good news, you don't have to figure it out by yourself. You call my agents, Chad and Sandy Newman. They will deliver. Your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. No required cost of repairs. Pick your move date. No long-term contracts. The success stories are rolling in from all over town. Find out for yourself. Call Chad and Sandy today. That's Chad, A-N-D, Sandy.com.
Hey, Hicken here with a message from Zero Res. Guess what? We love rugs. We'll treat your fine Oriental rugs with tender, loving care they deserve. How about Gerard, the Zero Res rug cleaning manager, one of the few certified master rug cleaners in the state of Florida? If you want your rugs cleaned with tender, loving care, call Zero Res. Right now, have one rug washed, and we'll wash the second rug free. That's right. Buy one, the second one on me. Zero Res. Spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family-owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at stanleypoolsfl.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
Tailgate special alert. 3 pounds of marinated chicken, 2 pounds of marinated steak tips, 2 pounds of fresh ground beef, and 2 pounds of homemade sausage for only $80 to feed your crew.
For tasty tips and juicy breasts, choose Southern Steer Butcher.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Taylor Dahl, Mia O'Brien, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. Just a little tease coming up later this week. We may have some concert tickets for you. And if you like country music, I would be listening on Thursday. I mean, listen every day.
Yeah.
Especially if you want the concert tickets, be listening on Thursday. Just a little teaser. All right, time now for the Terminix Pest of the Day. When we had some tiny little ants come in and invade our house, we, of course, called Terminix. They were there the next day. TERMINIX.com if you need them. Molly was telling us she has some ants. I told her to Terminix it. That's the easiest thing to do. They, of course, handle all sorts of concert venues around town. Daly's Place and Vice Veterans Memorial Arena. Speaking of concerts, they can do the same for you. The Pest of the Day for me is an easy one. All these Bills fans, and I thought Bills Mafia was to be held to a higher regard since they're just such diehard, passionate, albeit insane fans. But the Bills fans that want Sean McDermott fired? Are you kidding me? You just went to an AFC Championship game.
Again.
Again. And the only person, or team, I should say, not just one person, but the team that stands in your way, obviously the Chiefs. It's the second best dynasty we've ever seen in pro football, or at least since I've been alive. I feel like the Bills fans are now spoiled, and yet flashback 7 years, they were not in this position. They lost to the Jags 10-3 here in Duval. I'll get it right, by the way. Duval. There's some help for you, Liam. And since then, they've gotten Josh Allen, and yes, they made some interesting moves this offseason, but they still landed in the AFC Championship. How on earth can they call for their head coach to be fired?
Yeah, they have 6 straight seasons with 11 or more wins, and McDermott only has those 2 previous seasons before that. He was there. He's been there now since 2017, and 6 of those, they have 11 or more wins. The other one is a 9-win season, and then the other one is a 6. But give me that right now. It's wild to me, and we've had this conversation about a lot of the fan bases around when they're talking about a Tomlin, when they're talking about a John Harbaugh, when they're talking about Shanahan. You almost like start to get spoiled and forget what it's like to not have somebody who can consistently win you games. And it sucks. Like, I know, and I think about this just as Notre Dame lost in the national championship. Losing in those big games is absolutely devastating. Like, it's 20 times worse than losing a regular season game because it is so much more, and you feel like you've done all of this all season long to get to that point, and so your heart is shattered after things like that. But I hadn't seen them frustrated with McDermott. I've seen them frustrated with Josh Allen and calling Josh Allen out, which is absolutely insane to me. Like, my TikTok yesterday was all these Bills fans being like, Josh Allen's never going to be able to beat Patrick Mahomes. This is it. We need to go find someone else. And da-da-da. I'm like, are you kidding? Are you
going to sell your TikTok?
Sell it? Oh,
once people deleted the app once they heard that it was banned.
Oh,
now you cannot download it again. But if you already had it, you can keep using it.
Yeah.
But so people are buying other people's TikToks because they lost theirs.
That's weird.
That's crazy. That's what I kept telling people when it was happening because I was hearing it was coming back. So I was like, just don't delete it because if you delete it, you can't re-download it. Right. And people didn't listen.
So you might could sell yours.
Yeah,
but you would
how
never
much
part
can I sell this for?
I didn't see so much of the Bills fans saying they don't want Josh Allen as I saw Chiefs fans saying Josh Allen should probably ask to be traded to the NFC because he's never going to get over the hump. As for the Bills fans who are disappointed in Sean McDermott, I would go back to the conversation we've had the better part of the last week in which we've reminisced about the fact that Todd Bowles has won 3 straight division titles in his first 3 seasons as the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's one of 3 current head coaches on such a winning streak. Sean McDermott is one of the other coaches. Andy Reid, of course, is the third. That's pretty good company for both of those 2 coaches who, at least by a contingent of their fan base, should be on the hot seat, evidently. I don't know if I agree with that.
Nick Sirianni was also potentially on the hot seat after the Eagles had a disappointing season last year, and then there were reports that he and Jalen Hurts had a bad relationship, and see where the Eagles are this year. But I would just say, and obviously Josh Allen's not getting traded to an NFC team. The Bills would never do that. Do they need to make some different decisions in the offseason as far as personnel, especially defensively? Yes. Could Sean McDermott have challenged some things in that game because of the refs? Sure. Could have called a timeout instead of wasting 40 seconds at one point in time. I get all that. And I get being frustrated because your team lost and with your head coach at that point in time. But I saw a lot of Bills fans saying that they wanted him out. And it just shocked me because, again, we're not used to that type of success around here. And for the Bucs, it's a little different, Mia, to me. Because, yes, making the postseason, while we relish that here, But just making the postseason and making it to an NFC championship game in the case of the Bucs, that's to me a lot different. Like actually making it to your conference championship game, that is a much bigger step and better step, obviously, than just making it to the postseason.
I think you could also argue the roster in Buffalo comparatively to the roster in Tampa is, at this juncture, very different. This is not the Tampa roster that we saw win the Super Bowl 5 years ago. This is a Bills defense as well, since I see some of you on the MyBookie Digital Studio and the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures saying, well, Sean McDermott's a defensive coach and their defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. Their defense was, for a second straight year, ravaged by injuries, and to his credit, given the nature of the contract situation up in Orchard Park, because you're paying Josh Allen so much money, we talked about it prior to this weekend's conference championship game. That defense is largely made, outside of their defensive front, which they've invested heavily in, the back end is made up of either journeymen or day 3 draft picks who they have been able to cultivate and develop. And that's a credit to Sean McDermott, even if, yes, in the biggest of moments, because they didn't have all the cogs in the machine perfectly functioning at the right exact metric, the way that you would hope, even if, it wasn't Teron Johnson. Who was the one who went down, who they had to cart off with the arm injury? It wasn't Teron Johnson. Who was it?
It was
Bernard.
Yeah, it was
Bernard. Yeah. Bernard goes down their nickel corner and suddenly the whole thing is like a deck of cards and it collapses. I did not expect that to happen, because I believe in the onboarding, and we saw last year when they lost Christian Benford. That's who it was. Thank you.
Yeah. But it was a B.
Right. We saw last year when they lost Matt Milano. They went through that lull in the middle of the season, but they were able to find replacements and able to rework themselves. So I was surprised, because they've been a team that's been much more consistent in developing depth and developing the onboarding process. And that's a tribute to the head coach, that 9 times out of 10, the next guy in line is ready. And it stinks. I get it, but also beggars can't be choosers out here, Bills fans.
Hey, if they want to send Sean McDermott to be the defensive coordinator for the Jaguars, we'll take him if y'all want to do that. All right, we will hear from Tom Brady in our final segment on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels. It is an epic Cool Heating and Air Tuesday. Find them online, epichvacservice.com, or call 904-859-EPIC, and of course mention 1010XL for exclusive discounts.
1010XL is your home for Jacksonville University basketball.
Sound the siren as we honor first responders at Swisher Gym, JU, Florida Gulf Coast. Tomorrow at 7 on 1010 AM.
Start your new year off healthy. Get screened at Ackerman Urology for common cancers of the prostate, bladder, and kidney. Early detection is key with 5 locations across Northeast Florida. Visit AckermanUrology.com.
It's a new year at Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and St. Augustine. Cash in this month with thrilling promotions and tournaments, including daily high hands and table games clockwork cash out, giving away $300 cash every 15 minutes, and selected weekends at all 3 Best Bet locations. Catch all the excitement in 2025. See all the details and learn the games at bestbetjacks.com. That's bestbetjacks.com.
The big game is almost here, and Sonny's Barbecue wants you to win a barbecue feast. Text Sonny's to the text line, brought to you by Lifetime Flooring, at 641-1010 for your chance to win. 641-1010.
It's New Year's resolution time, so why not skip the guilt and do something you'll actually stick to, like fixing that leaky faucet, unclogging that drain, or getting your AC ready for the summer.
Duck Rooter is here to help you keep this resolution. Investing in your home.
Start the year off right with Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. Call us today at 904-862-6769. Because when you're stuck, call the Duck. Right now, get $50 off any service of $150 or more.
Hey, it's Angela and Brian Wall. How many companies do you know in this day and age that actually want their potential customers to call their competition and get quotes from them?
That's what WonderWorld wants you to do. WonderWorld knows there are other window companies out there, but we also know those other guys. When compared to WonderWorld, they can't offer you the quality at the price that WonderWorld can.
And with WonderWorld, you get the absolute best guarantee there is in the window replacement business.
If anything goes wrong with your new WonderWorld windows, 5 years from now, 10, 15, 50, WonderWorld and I will be there to fix it for you. You get peace of mind with WonderWorld, and to top it off, WonderWorld windows increase the value of your home. So look what you get with WonderWorld. Quality windows, low price, the best guarantee in the business, energy savings, and an increase in the value of your home. A win-win for you.
Call WondowWorld today and get your free in-home estimate, or see them online at WondowWorldNEFlorida.com. windowworld.com.
Window World, simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors. The Electric Light Orchestra experience comes to the Jacksonville Center for Performing Arts Wednesday, February 5th as part of the FSCJ Artist Series. For a chance to win tickets, text ELO to the text line covered by Lifetime Flooring at 641-1010.
What could you do with an extra $75,000 right now, or even a couple $100,000? If you own a home, you can get that money in less than a week with Loan Pronto. Hey, Prosser here. Loan Pronto is the leader in quickly converting your home equity into cold hard cash, so you can pay off all your credit cards or start that home remodel. Loan Pronto has several easy options to let you access the cash from your home. There's virtually no paperwork, no cumbersome process, no junk fees, often no appraisals. Listen, the average homeowner now has over $300,000 in equity. That's your money. Use it. One client got $150,000 out and paid off all their credit cards, 2 car loans, and a personal loan, cutting their monthly expenses by $1,500. You can get approved in as little as 1 day, so act now with no hard credit pull up front. LoanPronto.com or 904-999-1508. Get the money you need for anything at 904-999-1508 or just go to LoanPronto.com. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSConsumerAccess.org.
Interested in a unique date night? Gibby here. I took my wife Nikki to Wick a Candle Bar. She made her own custom candle right there in the store. Shop local at Wick a Candle Bar. Locations in San Marco and Jacks Beach.
This is Burton Cummings, the voice of a generation. Burton Cummings, 60th Anniversary Hits Tour. February 5th at Florida Theater. With special guest, Jim Messina. Burton Cummings and his band. 60th Anniversary Hits Tour. Tickets on sale now at floridatheater.com.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Instant Keys saves the day if you have lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call 722-1111.
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
With 50 years of fabrication expertise in towing products, the family at Cannons of Jacksonville can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since '87.
To recap, reset, the Jacksonville Jaguars have indeed extended special teams coordinator Heath Farwell. The first major hire of Liam Cohen's first coaching staff is now official per the team and a press release. The team has also now officially interviewed and completed 4 interviews for their vacant defensive coordinator position. Those names include the 2 who we knew yesterday, Durante Jones, who was the first reported interview, the Minnesota Vikings defensive pass game coordinator and DB's coach, Patrick Graham, who of course was also a finalist for the head coaching vacancy. Most recently, the Las Vegas Raiders defense coordinator, also was the Giants assistant head coach and defensive coordinator. Aubrey Pleasant, who completed his interview this morning, the Rams defensive pass game coordinator and assistant head coach, also previously was a DB's coach throughout the National Football League. And finally, Anthony Capinelli, the Green Bay Packers linebackers coach and run game coordinator. I do want to note, since a couple of you on the text line I was going back and forth with, yes, There is a offensive passing game coordinator. There can be a defensive passing game coordinator. In some very rare cases, there is a defensive run game coordinator. 9 times out of 10, if you see that title, it's because someone wanted to bring someone onto their staff, and in order to hire them away, they had to give them an elevated title, and or to keep them on their staff, they had to get a bit of a promotion, and so a new title or a second coaching title was created.
It's been a very busy week for one Liam Cohen. Between deciding his future and his family's future, that was back and forth, obviously, last week in the saga that was the hiring process / the quitting process with Tampa Bay. Then you have him get here, obviously waltzed around yesterday, got to see his office for the first time, met with reporters, and since then has conducted 3 defensive coordinator interviews and then is set to do another one. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And then obviously he also has to help with the hiring of the general manager. So don't sleep in the near future, Liam Cohen, because we need this thing built. We need it built for sustained success for a long, long time. Hopefully Liam Cohen is the coach here for 20 years. And he has multiple Super Bowl rings.
Yes.
And he will therefore have multiple coordinators, by the way. Just ask Todd Bowles. It's okay. If you have to hire multiple coordinators,
it means you're doing something right.
Because they're getting other jobs, you're not firing them. It's a good thing.
And we spoke with, was it Justin Rowland of CatsIllustrated.com who mentioned that Liam is really good at hiring the other coaches around
No, I think
him.
that was actually, I think it was Rick, wasn't it? Wasn't Rick Stroud? It was somebody.
We've talked so much Liam Cohen, it's hard to remember, but
it might have been Jenna. I forget who it was, but
it wasn't Jenna yesterday because it was last week. But whoever it was said that specifically Liam has an eye for hiring those position coaches around him.
And I can tell you, I talked to somebody around the league on Saturday or Sunday morning. I forget what day it was. And the idea of Liam Cohen arrived in Tampa. And Dave Canales was allowed to take several Tampa staffers with him to Carolina. And Todd Bowles said to Liam Cohen, okay, these 4 or 5 vacant positions, it's on you. You go figure it out. And he not only filled those positions, those individuals are now in demand not just in Tampa and Jacksonville, but around the National Football League. People are saying, wow, that's actually someone who I could see hiring at some point in time. And for the folks who are still in Tampa Town, they're saying, man, we don't want to let this guy go. We want to keep this guy. But he was brought in by Liam Cohen. And that's where it's a small sample size. It's only 4 or 5 assistant coaches, but it's a significant enough sample size that you say, hey, there may be something here in terms of being able to build a staff. Something I've been told now for weeks, that when it came to the young offensive-minded first-time head coaches, the belief was of the 4, if it's to be Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, Kellen Moore, Joe Brady, who of course now has pulled his name out of the running for the Saints job, the belief around the league was that if anyone could build a staff that could be a bit more flexible, adaptable, and maybe go outside the box, it was Liam Cohen.
And I do think that we didn't see this for a long time in the NFL, that multiple coordinators have decided to stay where they are, stay put, and not take the next available head coaching job. We obviously have talked about it at length with Ben Johnson. Joe Brady's now doing it too. Yes, it's one of 32, but not everyone wants to go be a head coach for the first time and get fired in 2 years because the organization is dysfunctional or you don't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
And then you may not be hired again as a head coach one day. You want that first opportunity to be a really good one.
And that's what I was about to say. We've seen so many examples the last few years of coaches getting fired when probably the general manager should have gotten fired. And that has now probably put an alert for a lot of guys around the league of okay, not everything, if this is going to be my shot, if this is going to be my job. And we heard the wording when it came to Ben Johnson. He said he didn't care about a job. He wanted the job. And I feel like a lot of guys are leaning towards that now, rather than being I just want to be the head coach of one of the 32 teams. They're looking more of no, because if I want to be the head coach somewhere, I want it to be long-term. I want to be able to be put into an organization that feels functional and that I get along with the general manager and that I do feel like there's some sort of base foundation of something I can build off of. And which I respect that because, you leave a job like Buffalo, who I just said 6 out of their last 8 years are winning 11 or more games, and then you go to somewhere like the Saints who don't even really have a quarterback. There's a lot of holes that they're going to have to try and figure out. There's a lot of upper tier issues that maybe people have even started to the surface now, and so I do think that they're evaluating these on a deeper level than maybe they used to.
You do wonder if Doug Peterson could have done things differently if he wouldn't have come to Jacksonville. Even though, again, they did obviously make the postseason in his first year. They had a winning record in his second year. And then after the third year, 4-13, let go. But you wonder now if he could do things over. He obviously took time off after the Eagles tenure. And you just wonder, would he have picked a different franchise if he had his pick? I don't know, obviously, that part either. All right, we talked about the refs yesterday in the AFC Championship game. They were the Terminix Pest of the day. Let's talk about also some questionable calls when it comes to Patrick Mahomes. Here's Tom Brady with Colin Cowherd on the late hits.
What do you make of the late hits and the controversy that the league is protecting Mahomes? What do you make of all of it?
There's an aspect that I don't like about some of these defensive rules. I think I've been pretty outspoken, not just on broadcast, but just in general over the last bunch of years. And the reality for me is offensive players need to protect themselves. And if they're running full speed and the defenders are coming up, the intent is to create, the only way to turn the ball over is to create force. You're not going to blow on the football and going to knock its way out of a running back's hands or a quarterback's hands. You got to go in there with force and knock it out. You're trying to create turnovers. You're trying to disrupt the pass. You're trying to dislodge the ball. We're trying to protect the quarterbacks, but coaches are calling more quarterback runs than ever in the history of the game. So who's protecting the quarterback? I believe if you're an offensive player and you can't protect yourself, or you're a defensive player and you can't protect yourself, if you're a D lineman and you're engaged in a block, no one can come and clip you, that's a chop block. That's well known. Everyone agrees with that. If you don't want to get hit, you can go down. You can run out of bounds. But you can't, in essence, have the defensive player come in at half speed and then you run over the defensive player because he's afraid of getting a penalty. And I think it's just a disservice to the game. It's something that I would hope that people would really address and say, not that anyone's trying to take advantage of the rules, but they've just gone to a point where it does impact the quality of the game.
This is also the guy who was involved in Deflategate, in deflating footballs in order to get things exactly the way he wanted them. And his team was involved in Spygate, too. So when Tom Brady gets a little bit on his high horse when it comes to officiating, I'm kind of like, all right, bro, you were also the reason that we've had to have investigations into your club.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes a little beyond Tom Brady and some of those. The Deflategate obviously was his. But then after that, even, that whole thing was so weird to me because Eric came out that Aaron Rodgers likes his overinflated and that different quarterbacks like their balls different and whatever. So that was just a weird thing. But I agree with Tom in this. I think you are taking away the integrity of the game and what you can do. And I've said this before on here that when we go back to the Trevor Lawrence hit with Azeez Al-Shaair, and that was a dirty hit, and that was something that Azeez has done several times. It's not the first time. It wasn't an accident. We do see the accidents, though. We do see the ones where a player, he's already in the air jumping and then accidentally hits the quarterback's head because the quarterback slides a little late, and you can't avoid those situations, but then they're getting a penalty. So now they are scared to go full contact, and they are scared to even touch the quarterback at this point. But then you see, and this has been a thing with Patrick Mahomes, is he does slide late, and it's his game. It is part of what he does. He's smart, so he knows what to do. To me, that should be a penalty also. To me, if you are going to slide late and you're going to you're going to start giving up on the play, and that in return, the defensive player starts to slow down or doesn't hit you as hard or whatever the case may be because of an action that you made, and then you don't slide or you hesitate even longer and get 5 more yards, that's not fair. That is not fair for those defensive players. They can't predict what you are about to do, and you are taking away the level of play that they can actually produce with not being your play being 100%.
The only tricky part about penalizing a quarterback for sliding late is knowing exactly when the quarterback is supposed to slide, right?
Yeah.
That's a very subjective thing. It's not you stepped out of bounds. That's clearly identified.
But it's the same in reverse for the defensive player. It's a very tricky thing too, but they want to call those all the time.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Because the refs have been told, protect the quarterback at all costs, because that's the biggest asset for these NFL franchises. That's what makes all of those NFL dollars go round. So I agree that Mahomes specifically is the one that uses the rule to his advantage the most. Trevor did not slide late, in my opinion. No. That was, like you said, it was a dirty, cheap shot hit. And that player has a pattern of that. Mm-hmm. Mahomes does things where he teases the defense almost like he'll put the ball out and then or fake to go out of bounds and then come back,
run back in.
And he does slide late to your point. That it's just one person though, so it's hard to change rules entirely for one person.
I do think though, to Tom's point, you're a runner. If you're going to run, you're a runner. And I think they've got to start treating him like that if it's going to be that case, because that's the only way you're going to be able to call this fairly, is if the moment a quarterback starts running and takes off, if they do it a certain, whatever they whatever the specifications are, if they say, if they run more than 5 yards or whatever, because if you're just running down the line of scrimmage just to try and get out of bounds or something, maybe not in that case, but that is what it's supposed to be, as the moment that a quarterback does take off, which in his point, we're seeing this more than ever. All of the quarterbacks now, the mobile quarterbacks are going, you're a runner and you can get hit.
And then you wonder if we'd start to see a shift, if that's really the case. Like if now you're losing your quarterback for an entire season because they were running and they were treated like a running back. If then you see the shift back to less mobile quarterbacks because, you have then a backup quarterback in to try and win you a championship, which is tricky.
Is it bad that my takeaway was, man, he sounds a lot better in like podcast or interview or desk
than he does on air?
Yes.
And calling the game?
Yes.
I think he's gotten better as the
season's gotten on, he's gotten better.
Yeah.
And like someone asked me the other day, they were like, do you think he is going to stay in the booth? And his representation has said, yes, he is committed to the duration of his contract that he has signed with Fox to be on the #1 broadcast team and in the booth. But
I don't think he should.
I don't think he should.
They should yank him out of there.
I think.
But Fox is like, wait, we need the viewers.
They want the viewers, yes. Which, again, I don't think he's like enhancing a broadcast to the point that it's can't miss TV. Like, I loved the example someone gave when Troy Aikman and Joe Buck moved to Monday Night Football on ESPN. And it's so true. In the years preceding it, with all due respect to the previous broadcast booth on the Monday Night Football broadcast, I would watch the Manning cast because I'm like, I don't really care. As soon as you hear Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, you know it's a big game. It doesn't matter if it's the lowly Saints and Patriots or the Panthers and the Jags. Like, it doesn't matter. If you hear Troy Aikman and Joe Buck, you're like, this is appointment television. I don't get that sense, even with Kevin Burkhardt, who's one of the best in the game, is a friend too. But, but then even with Tom Brady, like, I don't get that feel, but I love him on podcast form. I love him at the desk when he breaks down plays or he gives his opinion. And so I think the only reason he's still sticking it out, yes, the money, sure, but I also think it's because it's a challenge.
Yeah.
He's not naturally gifted at it. He has to work at it. And I think ultimately that's Tom Brady. Much like Shad Khan wants to learn something new each and every day, Tom Brady wants to grow each and every day. And this is his new pathway to doing so.
But if he can't be in production meetings ahead of time because of his minority ownership in the Raiders, then I just feel like we're not getting the best out of a broadcaster. And I do think that Fox probably thought that Brady would come in with the same gusto that Romo did when Tony Romo first entered the scene as a broadcaster, having been a former quarterback, and he would anticipate the plays. And people got so excited that Romo could tell you what's about to happen before it happens, right? And Brady didn't do a lick of that at all this season. I didn't listen to every single game, so I shouldn't say he never did it, but I don't recall any highlights of Tom Brady breaking down a formation and telling you before the play happens what's going to happen.
Or coming across as like, hey, this is your buddy who's just sitting with you at the bar and you're having fun.
Yeah.
And maybe he will get to that. But that's my biggest takeaway as we get ready for what appears to be year 2 of him in the booth. Number 1, yes, that was a good explanation, which is why I think he should be more on a desk setting or a podcast setting. But number 2,
like that halftime person that's like, oh, this is what I saw. And this is why this is good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think he's much better suited at the desk than he is in the booth, but I think it's a challenge, and he just loves a challenge.
Well,
so
he can't be the guy at the bar because he doesn't drink beer or eat wings. Let's say
he'll
hello
drink
to
that vegan tequila.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. Find the coolest cats in town at coolcatsjacks.com.
Now Matt Hayes needs to know all about vegan tequila.
Apparently now Taylor tells me it's avocado.
It's avocado tequila.
Yeah.
That's what he was drinking when they won the Super Bowl, and it was like a thing because everyone was like, wait, Tom drinks? And it was like, don't worry, it was avocado tequila. And I was like, what?
I was going to say, I think, I could be wrong, but isn't all tequila vegan, right? Like there's
I think
animals.
it is like the healthiest liquor.
I mean, unless the worm's in there, which that's probably not,
Unless
right?
the worm is in there. That is true.
That's back when Giselle was still with him too, right?
Yes.
There's no way he's drinking anything but vegan.
But like I said, I think pretty much everyone drinks a vegan. But it makes sense that it was avocado. We know that he used to have a very strict diet. It seems like, based off of his lack of cheek fat. He probably still has the same tough diet. Matt, what's coming up on the show today?
Well, we have our Tuesday diet. Leon continues now to bring in fried chicken every Tuesday.
Well, he just wants to visit Tight Lady.
I don't know what I'm telling you. You
Fried
walk in the
Chicken
door,
Tuesday.
You're 4 steps in the building, and you can smell it all the way down the.
I love fried chicken.
We're gonna talk, of course, Liam Cohen, and the best thing of all that came out of his mouth was the lines of scrimmage are everything.
Not that he's calling plays?
No, it's that the offensive line and the defensive line is where it begins. You build inside out. That's what it's all about.
Are we going to get optimistic, happy Matt Hayes?
Well, I mean, I said yesterday, I want to hear him say the offensive line is everything, the defensive line is
And he
everything.
literally verbatim
And
said
he
that.
literally just almost said it word for word, yeah. So very happy. I think we're all going to be happy there on primetime. We're going to go over all things Liam Cohen.
Can you imitate his Duval from the press
No, I
conference?
I do need
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like JJ's Modelo Yellow that he
Yes, it
tried to do. Very
does.
similar.
And again, in context, you would understand that Modelo Yellow. I will need your assessment of the photo as you exit the studio that I have up on my laptop, but that's for
Is
off
it
the air.
of Liam Cohen?
No, it's of the assembled media. The assembled media for the Liam Cohen.
Trevor Lawrence, part of the assembled media.
Yes, and Tank Bigsby and Gabe Davis
Gabe.
and Christian Kirk and the columnist.
Of course, Gene, right?
But notice how Liam only said 2 names yesterday, Trevor Lawrence and Josh Hines Allen. Well, he had said Luke Fortner,
he
but
said
that
Luke
dated back.
Fortner.
But that dated back to the training camp, the joint practices. He didn't say anything about Gabe Davis or Christian Kirk.
All I know is
I thought
they
he did say something about Kirk.
He did say something about Kirk.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said a couple names, but all I know is they walked in like the walking wounded. Like we actually said it out loud because Trevor came in first, then Gabe hobbling behind him, then Christian, which Christian's recovered, but it was like we all like someone audibly behind me goes, "Oh my God, they're the walking wounded."
I don't
Trevor gets
mind
his
him
sling
not.
off soon.
I don't mind him not saying players' names. I like them to be on edge, thinking, "Wait, does he not like me?" I like
Right.
that.
Well, I mean, he said only 2 good running backs, so Keelan Robinson somewhere.
I don't
has to
need
be
someone
worried.
saying they need to heal or ice cream or all that. I need like
Yeah.
a little oomph.
All right, well, thanks, Matt. We'll be listening.
All right, thanks, ladies.
I'm excited for prime time. Let's go.
Excited for that show every day, just like everyone's excited for our show every day, and the Frangie Show, and Into the Night with Rick Balloon, Hacker After Dark, and the Drill and Jaguars today. Did I miss any? I don't think so. For me, O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. These heels are made for talking. We will talk to you tomorrow, but XLP is next, so keep it right here on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Yeah. You keep lying when you ought to be truthing. And you keep losing when you ought to not bet. You keep saying when you ought to be a-changing. Now what's right is right, but you ain't been right yet. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you.
You know Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
What the hell is wrong with you two? Oh, come on.
They are The Drill.
Making the most of an opportunity.
Mornings on 1010XL.
The whole point is just to enjoy yourself.
Mia here for MyBookie. Our listeners have been killing it, and now we're set for the final stretch on the road to New Orleans. MyBookie is the one book that has your back. No fluff, no second guessing, just straight up action. Does your other sports book pay out when you push on a bet? MyBookie pays you back. And if you're new to the game and not sure where to start, we have you covered too. Step 1, use our promo code 1010XL. That'll double your bankroll with a 50% deposit bonus straight from the jump. Here's a pro tip to get you rolling. The big game prop bets are going to be plentiful. Take a hard look at player props and those wacky big game props you see each year on MyBookie. Stack that with MyBookie's risk-free Thursdays. That's right, a new risk-free odds boost each and every Thursday. To find the bet, click the Bet Boost tab and scroll down. If it hits, you win. If it doesn't, MyBookie refunds your money. Sign up now using promo code 1010XL and get your 50% bonus with MyBookie, the best sign-up bonus for Florida bettors. Bet anything, anytime, and from anywhere with MyBookie.
Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code